Hey, what's up everybody? So I'm out here in the Rocky Mountains just doing some hiking, but I stumbled on this really cool waterfall, which is what you're hearing right now. And so I thought this would be a perfect time to test out the Mavic Air 2, its long exposure capability. So that's what we're gonna do today. So I'm gonna be going through how to take these long exposure shots and just kind of like reviewing how they turn out and seeing how good it actually is. Before we get started, I should say there is one thing that you definitely need before taking long exposure photography, and that's an ND filter. If you purchased the Fly More combo, you got some ND filters, and we're going to be using one of those ND filters, and we're actually going to be using the 256 ND filter just because I'm shooting right in the middle of the day. It's super bright out, so you really need it to be as dark as possible over the lens in order to get the types of long exposure shots that we're going for. Other than that, just get your drone, get your controller, and we'll get this thing up in the air. Like I mentioned, we're going to be using the ND256, which is the furthest to the right when you first open the case. Next, you're going to want to take off this little gray outer ring on the camera, and you just kind of have to slide it up and turn it a little bit, and it comes right off. And just go ahead and replace that with the ND256. Alright, so once you get your drone in the air, there are just a few settings that you're going to need to change. So just make sure that you're in manual mode. And notice how my shutter speed is at 1/5. Your shutter speed is probably going to be a lot higher, probably around 1/250. So just go ahead and change that to 1/5. And once you find the framing that you like, just go ahead and double check your settings. And the ISO should be as low as possible. So in this case, the ISO should be 100. And from there, just kind of match that up with your shutter speed. So like I said, I'm at 1/5, but I'm going to go ahead and change that to 1/6.25. just to make it a little bit darker. I generally prefer to shoot my photos a little bit darker. It makes them a little bit easier to edit in post. But again, make your shutter speed to where it works best for the situation that you're in. Again, I'm shooting in the middle of the day, so it's super bright out, but honestly, sometimes you can go as low as 1 second as your shutter speed. And that's when you get that really glossy look in your long exposure photos. Anyways, the next step is to put your drone in tripod mode. And this just kind of slows your drone down. It makes the movements a lot slower and it hovers in place a little bit better. So if your drone shakes during this long exposure, it's gonna look really fuzzy and like out of focus, and sometimes things even like get doubled and it just looks really weird. So just make sure your drone is in tripod mode, and that way it's as still as possible. And once you have all that set up, just go ahead and snap your photo. And then you can just go ahead and check your files, and boom, you have a long exposure photo. And after a bit of editing and post-processing, this is what my finished photo looks like. And what's cool is because the Mavic Air 2 has the built-in tripod mode, you can do this with clouds, you can do long exposures with cars, and pretty much anything else you can think of. You can get really creative with your shots just because it has that built-in tripod mode. And this works with vertical photos as well, and it looks surprisingly good when they're all stitched together. And I've already gone over how to make vertical drone photos by stitching them together in Lightroom. So I won't go super in depth right here, but if you do want to go check that video out, feel free to click this tab right here. Anyways, I think that's where I'm going to end the video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed. Leave me a comment if you have any questions or have another topic that you want me to talk about. Be sure and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Later.